Hey, Richard Cohen wrote a column in the Washington Post that's got a lot of attention, sadly, because of its subject matter. And I started to read it, and I stopped and I thought, this guy, Richard Cohen, is not a Star Trek fan. What he was writing about was his feeling that he is essentially, as a white person, not wanted as much in the workplace, and that diversity shouldn't be something that is an objective because it implies the people that are there are part of a quota and therefore not worthy of being there. First of all, what Mr. Cohen conveniently either forgets or doesn't want to accept is that racism is the biggest affirmative action program of all. People not selecting someone because they're black, even though they are the smartest person in the room, has happened millions of times over the history of American society. Or someone not accepting someone because they're female, even though they're the best person in the room. Take what happened just, a day ago or so in the accident with Southwest Airlines Flight 1380. The pilot who safely and calmly landed this 737 who's injured and blown out is a woman. One of only 3% of all the professional pilots flying today. Professional commercial pilots. 3%. Now, that means there are other people just as talented as she, who are she's, who are ignored because they're she's. By people who think like Richard Cohen. No, Richard Cohen's not a Star Trek fan because Star Trek prizes diversity. Mr. Spock wore a obelisk on his chest on occasion. The edict for infinite diversity and infinite combinations. The idea was to prize that diversity because it represents the search for true knowledge. Something Mr. Cohen obviously is not interested in. But most important and also most disturbing is the fact that Mr. Cohen would choose to express his point of view because, and I'm struggling with the idea that this is a good thing. The worst case could be that he may very well, in a fifth pick or hyperdepression, consider that it might be a good idea to end the lives of certain people who don't look like him. There are people around like that. Just ask Dylan Roof, who was upset that there are a number of white women dating black guys. I wonder if Mr. Cohen has that kind of issue at the back of his head as well. No. Is it really a diversity issue or is it an economic issue? Is it a fear that if this person is here and you as a white person think that you're better than that person because they're of color, you're going to lose your job? If that's the real case, we need to have a talk about improvement of the social safety net, a restoration of it. Because this economic competition is only going to get worse as we become more diverse and as the talent pool becomes more diverse, and that's happened. Interracial marriage and dating, that's commonplace, way commonplace. We are headed toward, and arguably in many cases in the Star Trek society, Mr. Cohen. Now I'm speaking to you. As Dr. McCoy once said, you get used to those things. Oh, and if you're wondering which episode he said it in, it was Metamorphosis, and he said it to Dr. Zephram Cochrane, the father of Warp Drive, who couldn't quite process that an alien being of a non-corporeal origin was in love with him. As Dr. McCoy said, you get used to those things.